Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, welcome to the Public Works and Victim Services Committee meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved by Councillor Dawson, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? And we can start the evening with a presentation with Shannon, Carman, and Bobby Mitchell on the proposal for main entrance and Village Square in Metchosin School Property. So welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Epp. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I'm going to be speaking tonight about a proposal for a main entrance and Village Square at the Metchosin School Property. This came about, you may be wondering, what does a main entrance and the Village Square have to do with each other? The Village Square is a project that we've been working on for a number of years in Metchosin to create a community gathering space here, which is accessible and welcoming to all ages, that's open all the time and located in a central, active, vibrant part of Metchosin, which is basically the village core. The school has always been the place where we've envisioned it being, but over the years, initially we didn't know who the leasers were in the building, so that was one of the hesitations about committing to putting a gathering space in there. And then parking was an issue. The next place that we suggested with MACA required the removal of 5 parking spaces, which was making people antsy. So it's been sitting on the back burner for the past couple of years. And then, there was discussion about the Metchosin preschool moving into the old elementary school, which is fantastic. We're going to have kids back in the school. And they are going to be taking over that classroom. There's 2 classrooms on that long side. I think it was Mr. Cook's, and I can't remember the other one. But they'll be on the right-hand side. And they needed another entry point, right? Because otherwise they're going to be standing in the middle of the halls in MACA. It gets busy if anyone's ever been to a co-op preschool when parents come to pick up. There's a big crowd. So they were looking at putting in an exterior door on that side. And when we heard about that, there was some discussion thinking like, well, what if instead of building a door for just one user group, you thought a little bit more holistically and we put in something that could be utilized by multiple user groups within the school. So thus came the idea of putting in a main entrance right back towards the gym, which is a newly renovated gym, which is a huge asset that council has sunk a lot of time and energy into. But it is lacking a proper entryway. And for anyone who has ever been to a theater production or concert, if you're going to sell tickets, if you're going to do anything like that, you need a centralized place. And as consultants have noted as well, a lobby is really essential. So what our notion was to take one of the classrooms on the side, on the left-hand side, and take a little bit off it and create an entryway, thus using the inside space. But then that leaves the outside, and what this question mark was like, well, if we're going to make an entryway there that's like clear and obvious, taking up that dead space in the courtyard sort of becomes a no-brainer of that could be beautiful community space. It's not being used for parking. It is, just sort of left to whoever wants to wander by at this point. And it is a nexus point. You've got CERC, you've got MACA, you've got the brewery, you've got the training center. You've got a lot of people that are congregating and going in and out of that area all the time. So it already is a natural gathering space. But what we're proposing is to make it really clear and really obvious. I just finished working 4 months at the Seniors Resource Center. It was definitely an issue that people would talk about. They didn't know how to get in the building. They didn't know how to find that accessibility. So the Village Square Society proposes to apply the resources of the Village Square project. So over the years, we have a growing list of people who have pledged in-kind materials, in-kind construction expertise. Everyone knows we've got a lot of construction expertise in Metchosin, and a lot of volunteer time. So putting that towards creating this entryway and a public gathering space that would provide clear access to the building and improve rentability, allow the Metchosin preschool easy access to their classroom, enhance the aesthetic and accessibility of the entire building, and create a village square, community gathering space in a place where it makes the most sense and would have the biggest bang for the buck when it comes to sort of enhancing what we already have, which is that amazing asset of the old school. So we have a draft plan. This is just the jumping off point. I'm going to invite Ann Taylor up. She was the wizard who put a number of our proposals together, this being the latest iteration. So Ann, please. Thank you.
This particular design is one option, it's one cut, it's one idea. And what it would do is it would allow the entry, the new entry that would be going in, to have a big porch, for lack of a better term. It would be probably 2 steps up so that we get the grade from the finished grade from the building down to where, excuse me, the pavement sits. We were thinking that we would use the pavement that exists and cut it into a pattern, as you see, and then make use of the kinds of elements that would be useful to the children, to be activities for people to sit around, some place to gather with kids to be able to play safely. And I guess maybe the theme, which I call sticks, stones, and rusty metal, would be very inexpensive, easy to add to, subtract, replace, and it would be fairly simple to assemble. There's 120% of what we're going to put in there on that drawing, okay? What they are ideas. Now the layout can change. I did really want, because it's my favorite part, to make sure that we had something that represented something like a fountain. Well, we're not going to put any waterworks in because that would cost a fortune and they're just too expensive to maintain. The one thing that we do have a surplus of in Metchosin is wind. So what I was proposing was something like a big, tall, kinetic wind spinner that could use, I'm thinking somebody around here would be able to make us one, that would use the effect of the wind to make it look like it was a fountain. Now there's something we don't have to deal with so much, but it will be a focal point and it should look really nice. We'd like to make benches. We'd like to make benches out of natural wood that we can process easily, or that would maybe even be donated. And Katie Nelson has very kindly donated a beautiful plank that it's 14 feet long. Lots of people can sit on that. I would very much like to have that incorporated because it would be a great gift for this area. If you want to go and have a look at all the things, what we did do is we put some graphics on the one side that gives you an image of the ideas that we're going after. Cost, as little as possible. Put together in some format that would be usable to the kids, that would cost us not very much, that could be changed as needed. Now, there's a few other things in there that you may wonder about. I did put in a rain garden. Why? Because we don't know what the drainage is going to be. And until we can do that, we don't know the hydrology. We have to manage that. Another thing we're going to make sure of is all the way along the sides of the buildings, we have a corridor that will meet the standards of Fire Smart. There'll be a reason we'd want to do that. And there is no reason that we couldn't put up signage saying, this is why we do this. This is why it's important. How's your house doing? Just a little advertising. We can have all kinds of signage. But I do think it would be very fun to call on the folks at MACA and anyone else to see if we could showcase some of their artwork. We would like it to be things that are simple and colorful and can add, as long as we keep within, a very natural kind of a theme. And planting would be kept to a minimum because it costs a lot of money to water plants. So what we could do is we could have a few things in there that are fun to look at and desperately, desperately simple to keep alive. I had proposed something like small topiaries. And when I say small topiaries, I mean maybe a foot tall and 3 feet long. We could make them out of sedums or succulents, or we have a lovely native one called Capo Blanco, which is gray. Now, these little mounds of gray, fluffy things would look very sweet, put in with some native grasses, and then a funny little face on the front and little ears, because now we've got topiary sheep. And so if we could incorporate that, if we could incorporate, say, metal fish images or herons done in metal that would move in the wind slightly, now you've got really cool things without having to worry about maintenance. The idea is that we would massage this area into a usable and really, really nice entertainment. We could possibly have people, if we had that porch, we would probably have outdoor electricity, so we would have lights or possibly something to plug in. And this could be a meeting place or a place just for people to just come at any time of the day. The folks at the pub seem to be quite keen on having us do this. We would have to have appropriate screening. And yes, I'll let you folks come and have a look at all of the various parts of it. And if there's something that you don't understand, that's okay. There was a lot of ideas that went into this, so it can be moved and changed. That's about it. I know it may be hard to read, but this is a first cut, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. So we'll just walk along to the next one with some of those images that we were talking about, like the veranda, just rustic, easy to cheap and cheerful, as Anne calls it, very Metchosin-like kind of vibe. In terms of the governance of the space, Bobby's going to be talking to the budget and the building in a minute. Ever since we've been talking about this for the past few years, using the already established system of the user groups. We have created a Metchosin Village Square Society that has been incorporated. We're in the process of setting up bank accounts. So what we propose is that this space be treated like the equestrian space or the cricket or whatever, that there is a society that is responsible for the upkeep of this space. The municipality in the long term would be asked to provide garbage pickup. If there was any watering, the society could even take care of that. And because we have the preschool there now and so many other folks in, we're confident that we can keep that society going quite easily because there'll be a lot of people utilizing it and valuing it in that way. And yeah, the notion is that this would be a space that would be kept up in perpetuity with minimal cost in the long term to the municipality. So to speak about the building of this and of the budget, I'm going to invite my better half, Bob Mitchell.
Hello. Yeah, so I need to speak to the building of this. Obviously, you guys have all seen the package. Yeah, you've all seen the larger package and the proposal that we sent in. If I were the council, my biggest concern I think would be is here we have a bunch of volunteers who are going to try to build what could be considered something which is complex. Certainly going inside the building, making changes inside the building. I'd be concerned about that. I mean, all I can say really is that we're offering quite a bit of construction expertise between myself, project management experience, also Chris Vanderwater, who I think most people know is one of a great carpenter around here, does a lot of work. Also, there's other members of the community over the past years. We have another project manager from Sawyer Construction who could be interested in this. I don't know if I want to speak too much on the governance of how it's going to get built, because I think that's going to be more of a discussion that happens. What I envisage, though, is that the Metchosin Village Square Society would basically be an umbrella group of these professionals and be the, I suppose, mouthpiece speaking to council and district staff. District staff and the Metchosin, as the owner of the building, have to take on full responsibility and liability for how things are constructed. But we would be basically helping the council along with that the entire way, because we have a bunch of people who do this all the time. I think that's a governance aspect. Again, I mean, it's something to have a longer discussion about. I'm going to go to this one. This is just simply a picture of for everybody here, if you're wondering what we're doing inside the building itself. There's the preschool on the right, and what I've been told could be an administrative or office room for the school administration, if that comes to light. And then we have a entranceway right through the center there. Up at the top of the page is the entrance to the gym, so you can see if it's we're having ticketed events to the gym. It's a perfect hallway to get people right in there. Now the biggest part, of course, I'm sure everybody's excited about, is the cost. So I want to point out very strongly here, it's a big number down at the bottom there. I actually think in my time in the constructing industry, I think it's actually a pretty good deal, honestly. I guess I can't walk away from the speaker here. So what I've done is try to be really clear about the costs that the district might be facing for this. And then also showing how much volunteer time and effort is going to go into this. And then finally, of course, figuring out how much money we're actually going to have to raise. Now, when I say fundraising, I mean the Metchosin Village Square Society would be fundraising that money, the extra that's required. I'll talk about the phase one right now. So this is the interior, the main entrance and the covered landing. So that's basically getting the inside of the building done, and then the covered area on the front, which is very important because we have to allow for mobility access into the building through that entrance. The Metchosin's preschool itself has said that they would put the money they had for the exterior door towards this exterior door. You can see down at the bottom there, Metchosin's preschool, $17,000 worth of the cash that is required. MACA said that they would put in $4,000, and the Metchosin Village Square Society could put in the remaining $15,000. We don't see that as being an issue to fundraise. So that phase one there is, I think, pretty well taken care of. If I can talk to the district capital expense, in my mind, I feel that the district should be paying for any consultants, architects that are required, because we should not really be hiring the owner's consultants. Then the operational expense for the district, that is my guess at how much district staff, such as Chris Watkins and Bob Payette, are charged hourly, and I made a guess as to how many hours they might be required to work with us in order to get these things built. So yeah, district capital expense, $5,600 up at the top, that's cash out the door. $6,750 for operational, that's wages and office time. Phase two, the Village Square, that's the outside piece. It's split up in exactly the same way, with the district expenses, the volunteer effort, materials going in, and then the capital required, the fundraising. Again, some pretty big numbers, but I think that the phase two portion of this is we're looking at more of a longer build out, a year, 2 years, to make final completion of it, which gives a lot more time to put together the required fundraising. I guess one more thing on the governance, I suppose, is we made the Metchosin Village Square Society so we could take donations and then hold those. And then as portions of the project are completed and as required, we can pay that money out for materials or contractors and other professionals. Yeah, so I think that's what I've got. I don't know if there's questions about the governance aspect or questions about the budget itself, but I feel complete. Tried my best.
Well, thank you. It's a really interesting and ambitious project. Committee members, questions? Councillor Gray?
Yeah, I can say, wow. There's lots there. I guess I was a little bit, so this is pretty interesting proposal and much appreciated to see this after all the work that's gone in the past. Thinking about the Village Square particularly. I was looking at the schematic of the actual school, and I see the entrance going in and taking up one of the existing classrooms, thank you, classrooms. If you go in there, I just wanted to pick up on the question of access to the whole building. Is the idea people could go in that entrance and actually turn right and get into the area of the school rented by MACA? Or there's some fire doors there, some kind of seemingly always closed doors?
No, sorry, thanks. Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we go up through the entrance there, and then there's the horizontal hallway. And so what's not shown is the ends of that. And there's a fire door on either end. There's a fire door that leads towards the training center, and then there's a fire door leading into MACA's space.
Right.
And included and inside of those fire doors are also, I guess, the new bathrooms and the kitchen space as well. I'm not totally familiar with it all. But yeah, it does provide a central access to the entire building if we wanted to do that, right? People can come in and they can go training center, they can go MACA, they can go gym.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why it's here and not potentially on the other side of the school, I mean, there's no shortage of doors in the school, it's just they're all in weird places, right? It was built as a school, not as a venue, right? So what this does is it gets people out of the warren of hallways in the MACA side or coming through the training side to get to what we have now is this really valuable asset. There is such a shortage of space in the West Shore for rentability for performance and concerts. From my time at the West Shore Arts Council and dealing with other arts organizations more recently, they are very desperate for space. So the rentability of this, I mean, it's fabulous, the gym, but if you don't have that central access point, it becomes awkward and weird and you're not going to get nearly as many renters. So I see this as being a real boon on multiple levels.
So maybe through the chair, does that mean those doors can be changed so that actually people can pass through?
They could be opened.
Yeah, thanks.
I would assume so. One thought I have with I heard that the left-hand side could become administrative, and so who knows in the future when this place is booming and hopping, you might have a full-time administrator sitting there, in which case that entryway could be, I don't know what you call it, watched, I suppose, and people could enter there and go to the training center or go to MACA, because then maybe you can start having those fire doors open. Right.
Or closed if it's after hours and you don't want people wandering through the school, right? Mm-hmm. That's another huge piece, right? Because if it's being rented in the evening, having them climb through other staircases and stuff is just really not an option.
Any other questions?
Councillor Matt? We will be discussing this further on. Yeah, and I don't want to belie my prejudices or whatever, but I love the concept, the two concepts, but I really would love to hear from Mr. Payette in terms of some of the questions even that Mr. Mitchell raised in terms of governance and how the whole thing's going to be managed. So yeah, I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, I would too, think it's quite a unique idea to be working together on this, so I would hopefully that Mr. Payette has a few minutes to think about how we could possibly move forward with this or not, at least some more information for council. So thank you very much for the presentation. We really appreciate that. And now we'll move on to public participation. Anybody like to speak today?
So Anthony Metchosin Road. I just want to say I think this is really cool. It was like, I guess before COVID, whenever that was, I have like lost all sense of time of years now, but that Shannon, I did a presentation on a village square concept, and nothing ever really happened with that. I thought it was really exciting, and it would be nice to see some movement on something there. I mean, we go past that area a lot to go into the brew pub or go walk by to go to meetings, and it is not super pretty right now, and it would be nice if it was pretty for everybody. And I see a lot of kids playing out there too, you know, that their mom and dad are sitting on the patio with friends, and it would just be really nice. I really like the little conceptual drawing of like, there's like a little horse made out of a tire and stuff. I just think it'd be fun and it'd be kind of whimsical. And I was gonna say too, with that one real room too, if you have a lot of people, you could have like a coat check.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hey, not see anybody? Oh, sorry.
Okay, if I come to the meetings, I may as well input. It's June Reimer, Marydale Road. It looks like lots of fun. You've got a lot of work going on here. Just a few points, plus minus.
You've got your hand on, didn't you?
We've talked before. Yes?
You were changing the slide if you want to.
Oh, I see. Oh,
It's up to you though. I wondered.
No,
if you
I
wanted
wasn't
to.
trying to do that. I was just fidgeting.
Sorry.
Yes, where was I going with this? A lot of work. It would be neat to have a village square, and it's neat that there is a committee. We mentioned this, or I brought this up a while back, about the patchwork that we have happening at the school. And we have so many great things for our preschool, for ourselves, for our grouping, but we have a huge expense, right? Like, we have to pay for the school. And so at some point, looking at a bit more of a master plan so that there are rooms left, like Shannon, you've mentioned, renting it out, but we haven't tried that. And so the fact that just putting in big doors in a hallway, is that going to do it? At first I thought, why would you put it there? Because for kids, it's very nice to have them out in the field. There's so much opportunity we have in the fields of the school. One other thing that came to mind was when my kids first started at Hans Hildesheim School, and actually Sherry, probably more yours, there was an awesome playground there. It was incredible. It was built by volunteers. But when we fundraised as PAC, we were not allowed to put anything in by volunteers because of liability. We had to pay a large amount of money to buy what was there at the present time, because it was really critical when you've got little kids, anybody, and especially so that was critical for the school. And so all of these sorts of things have to be taken into account as well. They look so cute, they look great.
We've done lots of research on that, yes. So it's a different level for schools than it is for municipal property. The liability for the municipal land covers low-level stuff like this. It's not the same category as playgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also you do have drainage and so on. So I would say if this went ahead, it probably would be better that it's something that is sort of temporary and could be removed again if it's not working, because it does require a lot of upkeep. And the people that are starting it and the volunteers are, like Chris is getting older, of doing these things. So you need to know that you've got that whole thing going. if we've got something that is going. But again, it would be really nice also to know what in general is going to happen with the school that would bring in income as well. So just a few comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And the school, we are actively looking for renters for the school, and there are people have been renting rooms and have been renting the gyms, so that is an ongoing process. It's not just sitting empty.
Yeah, no, just amounts of what we need. I
Right.
love that we have the school. I just want you to know I love that we have the school.
Okay, so move on to adoption of the minutes, Public Works minutes of May 13th. Any motion? Moved by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? And the receipt of the minutes of the Health and Communities Advisory Select Committee of May 28th.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shannon. Any discussion?
Just a question, Councillor. I noticed on page 8 under Chief Dunlop's update, there's talk of an annual Canvas Day. Page 8. And just wondering if there's any background. This from the chief, but it just sounds interesting.
Can you fill us in, Chief? Sure.
Sorry.
This was just an idea through our Indigenous Engagement grant and working with Shannon. We were talking about CAMUS and what it means and even actually what it is. And then, of course, working with Katie and her love and passion for CAMUS. We thought about under this grant we might have try an annual CAMUS Day. And what that is and what it is involved, I don't know yet. It was just kind of just a little seed that we thought we'd take to the healthy communities and grow it from there. So looking for ideas.
Sounds like a very flowery proposal. Okay,
Is that
thank
right?
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good, thank you. Any other discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? And we have the receipt of the Firehall Steering Committee minutes of May 29th.
Move receipt.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. Any discussion? Councillor Gray.
Yes, I wonder if through the chair I might ask Mr. Pyatt a couple of questions. Just I see in the minutes of the Firehall Steering Committee that the RFP had gone out, and so I took a look at it on the website and I had a few questions about it. I'm totally keen on the fire department and what it's doing and the help that they provide the community, but I'm concerned with the RFP when I look at it. And we don't have it in front of us here, but it talks about making a plan for a fire hall in consideration of future densification of our community. And that would be inconsistent with our official community plan. And of course, it's called an official plan because it's the plan we're meant to be following. So that's a big concern to me. The mentions made of affordable housing challenges in the district, I'm not sure what those are. Again, how that would be defined by a contractor coming and looking. We've heard people advocating for housing, but we haven't actually got any measures of issues. And then the mention that the existing lot size is described as 4.5 acres. And that doesn't seem to be correct information. So when I look at the feasibility study, I'm concerned about what are we doing here? It seems like it's out of line with what I would have expected from the RFP. I know previously we said we're not going to look at it as a council or we weren't going to see it. But now that it's up on the web, it doesn't look correct to me for what we're looking for. So if I could ask Mr. Pyatt just about where these things came from and how we're going to deal with it.
Mr. Pyatt, my understanding of the densification was in general just in the whole community, with people moving into the community and coming in from outside. But
But our OCP doesn't have that in it.
Yeah, through the chair. I don't know where the word densification came from, but it's probably semantics, could be replaced with long-term community growth. So that word, densification, probably not the best word for sure. The size of the lot, I agree. We did talk about that at the committee, the working group for the fire department, and we had a little discussion about it. I was a little surprised it said 4.1 acres too, because that's not quite right, but we all agreed at the end of the discussion that it kind of is indicative of the size of the space for traffic flow and whatnot around the building. So I thought we just left it there for that reason, but maybe the fire chief can supplement that comment. Anything else?
Yeah, I thought it more like be half an acre or something that sits
The
on
site,
that.
yeah, the size of the site is half an acre, but I think the overall flow of the traffic, I think, is what we talked about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I'm puzzled by is that, like, when again looking at the RFP, it doesn't match. We got a grant funding to help pay for the RFP of $10,000, and so we got $10,000 by telling that agency that the new bill would improve our response times. But then I go through the RFP and there's nothing about response times. Then it says there'll be public surveys and public consultation. There's no mention of public consultation or public surveys in the RFP, et cetera. So the money, the $10,000, I don't believe it could actually be applied to this particular RFP because they're talking about different issues.
Mhm.
So that's a $10,000 possible hit in doing the project. But the other part, I guess the really big part for me, is I thought the concern was seismic issues. And the document reads like it's a whole 1,000 other issues. And the amount of work that people are meant to be doing, recommending options on technical merits, building a phasing plan, costing, financing, including public-private partnerships. My view is that should be stricken from the RFP. Bylaw changes. Meeting with everybody but council, like are we top meet? Why wouldn't we be involved in that? Like in talking to the people. So there's a lot of issues here that, well, I guess the final one is we did get a report by Skyline Engineering in May 2020, low cost investigation. They said, hey, how about you get somebody in here to take a look at these buildings and just give you the answer. You can live with these as they are. You could make them a little bit better, or you could replace them and get the numbers, the cost of that, and then go from there. I think we're off into some other world here, and I really would like to answer the seismic question so that we could decide what to do. So I'm wondering about pulling this back so that we could sort of take another look at where we're going. I see that it's easy it's straightforward to put it on hold. I'm just concerned that it's something like a $40,000 cost, maybe losing 10 grand here because it doesn't really match up. And then we'll end up with a whole lot of information but not really answer a basic question. Do we want to rebuild the fire hall or fix it?
Yeah, I mean, those are all comments that I'm hoping and believing that when we get the proposals in, they should answer a number of those comments. The $10,000 amount that we received, I can't personally speak to that as far as the criteria go, but I guess my understanding is that would supplement the amount council's approved in the budget. My other concern is that the proposals will come in at above $50,000, and so concurrently we are working on a MOU that would go to CMHA and BC Housing to help us supplement the cost of the proposal of the RFP.
Of the RFP.
So, in short, I don't have answers to all your questions, but I'm suspecting that when we get proposals, written proposals come in, with the, I want to say committee, but I think it's called working group, the Firehall working group.
Steering committee.
Steering committee will screen through the proposals, and we can determine from that point where we're going to go.
Through the chair, would it be possible then for us to have a look at that? If we don't put it on hold now, which would be my preferred option, just to get it clear what we're up to, that we would see those at council, or we would get a sense of it before we actually let the RFP?
Yeah, my understanding is that the working group, let's call it,
Mhm.
sorry if I'm offending anyone, but it's a strong group. We had robust conversation. Was going to screen the proposals, and the preferred proposal will come to council. Correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, I think that would be useful. The other thing I think we're still waiting for at council is the MOU. And I think we had asked about the Fighter Society, whether it actually had in its bylaws, if it was in scope for to sign an MOU with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't heard back about that. But that would be helpful before we go too far down the path. When I looked at their terms, what I saw from the terms of reference, they're not able to sign a document of the type that we're talking about. So I think that if this is all sort of, they're following our tail here, we better be sure that we got things in order. And as long as we're going to see it before any money gets spent, that would be great. It means a lot of time and effort from staff, I realize. So it is expensive at the moment, but
Yeah, I want to get the MOU out the door here as soon as I can. Everything takes time. So.
yeah, I'm just questioning whether it would be valid for the society to sign that. Well, if we could get a report on this maybe at our next meeting, that would be helpful, if that makes sense.
On the MOU? Or?
Well, the MOU, I think it's scheduled to be coming back, and the society and sort of the legal issue there. And then if we see the RFP, I guess before it is, well, as you say, we'll see it before that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, fair enough.
I appreciate that, Mr. Payette.
Okay, Councillor Shukin, did you have a question for Mr. Payette?
I didn't. I just was hoping that Councillor Ray could identify where did you see densification? I'm sorry, I'm looking.
Certainly, it's clause 1.4 or 1.4.1. Consider the impact of future densification. So what I'm worried about is we're kind of putting on our RFP that's asking people to build a fire hall for people that don't live here, and we're not intending for more people to come here. So I'd like to be built in, I'd like us to consider the population we have and serving that population rather than something larger that we don't need.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I think it's important to think about the future, however, mostly because we have umpteen thousand people on two of our borders, and they all love coming to Metchosin, and that results in more calls and more, not necessarily people living here, but definitely more people coming here. But anyway, is there any more discussion on this motion?
Just say thank you. I'll just say thank you to the chair.
Okay, Councillor Donaldson.
I just have two things. I was at that meeting, and there was lots of really interesting discussion. It's a very diverse steering committee. It was my third meeting, so it's always interesting listening to the expertise that comes to that table. There's been lots of studies, and those studies were based on the footprint of what is there already, and there's been some really good results out of what we've seen so far in those studies as far as what the earth is underneath and that sort of thing. The two things that, one thing didn't come up at the meeting, but the other that did, that Councillor Grace just brought up, was the 4.5 acre. That is half of this property. So this property is approximately 10 acres. So I kind of queried that as well, because I thought we were looking at the building footprint, and then if there is this traffic flow, I understand that because we do have a driveway that kind of loops around between the main building, the fire hall, up our driveway here, or around behind the market and then out with where NCA is. However, if it's 4.5 acres and this building is maybe bigger, with a bigger parking lot or whatever on ALR land, which is grass and fields for future food production, stuff like that, it's still zoned that way. It just seemed kind of awkward to have that in here. So it's a little misleading. That's why I brought it up at that time. Surprised to see that it's still in there. The only other thing that came up that was did not come up actually was the 40 POC firefighters. And in my understanding from this last budget process, which we now have 2 POCs 7 nights a week and two days a week in the budget. And those are people that will stay a 12-hour shift at the hall. It reduces our response time, so that's a better thing. So we have that in the budget. We do usually have upwards of a complement of 40 volunteers. So the other firefighters do get a stipend per call. So they're not paid the 12 hours, just so everybody knows. Those things are not don't fit into the budget. And in looking at a recent publication of the Gazette, Colwood is actually advertising for POCs. We're not that large of a department. So I also found that statement was a little bit misleading of 40 POCs. So maybe it is all 40 of them that will rotate through or whatever, or maybe it's full-time. I don't know. It was just, I didn't bring it up then. I'm still not sure what it's supposed to mean, but it was just kind of a point. It was kind of interesting. There's a few things in here that are kind of like, oh, this is a big project. So we'll see where it goes. I hope that we find what we're looking for and get lots of answers in the near future.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Right, that call the question. All in favor? Okay. So now we're moving on. Very exciting naming process for the school, and basically just like to know what what the committee members think would be the next step. We just sort of go with what's like Metchosin School got the most votes, and so we're I guess just like some input about where you guys think we should go with this now. Councillor Jones.
Well, when I was asked for my 3 top ones, without being cheeky, I was going to list Metchosin School, because it's already on the school. Its namesake is there. It was newly painted here just a few years ago. So I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that it actually outnumbered everything else. But then I got more serious. Oh, well, is there any other names? So I did put a few other things down, but it basically came back to the same landmark of the history of the building is what it is. I like Metchosin School.
Yeah.
It's already got its signatory on it. So.
Yeah, what seems to be the general consensus. I thought Metchosin School Center might be good, just because it kind of at least makes it sound like it's not a school anymore. But any other comments on what we should go ahead with this? Wow. Doesn't everybody jump in at one? Councillor Donaldson.
Councillor
Shukin, sorry.
That's okay. I catch you tonight. Do we have to do anything if we keep it as Metchosin School? Do we have to rename? Do we have to take any action?
I don't think so. Probably not, do we? I think that's already what it's called, right? Although, is it officially, I'm not sure what the official name is. Is the official name Metchosin Elementary School? Like, say on documents, it isn't? Just Metchosin School?
I don't think there's an official name for it anymore. I think the school board used to call it Metchosin School. Elementary school. If we could add something to the end of it, it would help. With the confusion when people call the office saying, where is the school? Can we add at least venue or center or anything? But Metchosin School creates a lot of confusion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we name the school the Metchosin School Center.
I'd second.
Right, any discussion on that one? Councillor Donaldson.
We have a center across the street. I know that there's a lot of there's Metchosin Store, Metchosin Home, Metchosin Community. We know we're in Metchosin, so I get that part. Metchosin Center, when I was on Healthy Communities, we talked about then, what would be the, what Shannon was just talking about, the gathering place, what would we call it? And we had all sorts of names going around then. So center, hub is very overused right now. It's a really trendy thing everywhere. So that's one of the reasons I picked that. Center, I don't know, we have a center for everything. I just like the way it is. I mean, once we get our wayfinding signs up, people know where they're going. But I think if you Googled it, it will still come to Metchosin School, or it will come to the address, which is very visible.
Although as Mr. Payette was saying that it gets confusing for staff, people phoning about wanting to know where the school
Beside the store.
is. Any other comments on that, discussion on that? Councillor Gray.
Well, you can see the votes that some of us made. I favor calling it the Metchosin School. I guess I'm going to speak against the motion, and that's because it seems straightforward in the sense of the number of votes. But if we actually are going to make a decision to change it, then I would wonder about running an ad and use for a 6-month period, like a really significant, stronger time frame to get more input. We've got something like 20 people, or I couldn't quite tell here, and we have about 5,000 residents in Metchosin, so it's not like we didn't get a lot of input. So I'm perhaps like Shelley thought, oh, well, that seems to work okay. And it would just be really the cost of adding the name and what that would take, I suppose.
Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, so we've heard about this proposal tonight from Ms. Carman, and we've seen this proposal a number of years ago when we did the Land Story consulting firm, had done a bunch of drawings as well. We still have that on the shelf. Maybe once we get the school fully leased with a good solid set of tenants and the gym really going, that we revisit this at a time. Maybe it will happen where we actually all start calling it something that really just rolls off of our tongue. Maybe now is just not the time. I think this was a good exercise. But I wonder if we should just pause and see where we are maybe in the future once we get things really happening.
Yeah, well, certainly a possibility. I'm willing to withdraw the motion if everybody's kind of in agreement with that thought. Okay, I'll do that then. And we'll just continue on.
It's going to happen. This place is going to take off. So I'm being told. It's good effort.
I think by the time we get around to it, I won't be on council anymore, so you won't have to worry about it.
It won't be far.
All right, moving on to councillor's update. So I just wanted to say a huge shout out to all of the volunteers who produced another great and successful Mighty Garage Sale under Metchosin. It was just amazing. There were so many people. This is what the volunteers that were around there most of the week, or all week, or 8 days. And a lot of the people that came to the sale, how many of them, so many of them said what a wonderful community event it was, just to be there and a chance to visit with people and sort of go back, and the same volunteers, a lot of them are there every year. It's like old home week. So anyway, it was really congratulations on the event, and even though the weather definitely didn't cooperate very well. The Seniors Association held their 10th Parisian Cafe, and again, despite the weather, it was it was really quite well attended, and it was really neat to see people sitting on the tables and moving around from table to table, visiting with each other, and just really enjoying that chance to get together, and of course enjoy some really great pastries. The community hall is working with FireSmart and also on the dark sky lighting, which is great. As far as the West Shore Arts and Culture Centre Intermunicipal Committee, there was a big discussion with the announcement of the new high school near Costco, that area, and the 1,500 seat theatre, which is a massive theatre. And a lot of the concerns were raised because the other theatres that are involved in schools here, like Royal Bay and Edward Mill, and of course the Isabel Reader Theatre in Spencer, they're all very difficult for community groups to use because they tend not to have enough room for storage, for wings, for rehearsal space. It's difficult with unionized staff often, and hard to book, and it's just quite, they just don't work all that well. Plus 1,500 seats is a massive amount of of seats, and would probably be out of reach for most community groups to actually rent it. So they're continuing. They have some things going on about, but the size of theater that they're thinking of is more like a 350 seat theater and building that would encompass a lot of different arts and things like that. So that's ongoing. There's open mic nights at the brewery now, and Public Works Supervisor Chris Watkins we met at the community house to look at more accessible parking around there. So hopefully that will get underway with the Public Works group. And the Foundry Center, there was a kickoff for that last week. And this is funding for young people, 12 to 24, for a center for them and their families to access free and confidential services. So that center is just in the planning stages, expected to be done in 2026. Also, as far as the active transportation plan, which kind of comes in after the discussion about the Duke Road Trail, what the consultants have been working on, and this is just a few of the things. This is a review of key policy documents. And as I say, this is only a few of them, but it goes from the OCP to CRD, traffic and highways regulations, to BC's active transportation strategy, checking out the local transit plan, and just on and on and on. There's so many different areas that they look into before they really get started on Metchosin. The next step is to complete the facility inventory that we have of bike lanes, crosswalks, roadside pathways, trails and connectors, bike parking, road classifications, traffic calming, bus routes, and bus stops, land use, community facilities, trailheads, and existing trails. So that's where they're going. They're going next with that. Also, we got the plans now for the best location to put a crosswalk at the Galloping Goose crossing by Matheson Lake. So I'm hoping that work will get underway on that as soon as possible. And I dropped in on Saturday to the Change Makers Gathering Festival at Starlight Stadium, and it was really neat. I got a chance to watch some terrific drummers and singers and dancers in one of the sets there, and I got to have a bannock.
Taco.
Thank you, taco. You know that would come to me. Yeah, it was really good. So that's all I have for the update. And now we're going to move.
Councillor,
Yes.
do we have a location for the Foundry yet?
No. It's just that's what they're looking for. Doing a site search, I think, is what they're moving forward now. So anyway, correspondence. Now we had an awesome presentation about the Metchosin School entrance and area there. So I'd like to make a motion that the committee refer the proposal on the Metchosin School Property to staff for review and recommendations. Seconded by Councillor Gray, and discussions. And hopefully we could have Mr. Pyatt come on and speak a little on this, please.
Okay, thank you through the chair. So, governance and functionality and staff work. How about I talk about three things? So governance-wise, governance, functionality. Okay, governance-wise, whatever. If the entity is a society and they want to maintain the outdoor space, that sounds reasonable. We would do up some form of an agreement to that effect to make sure our liability is mitigated properly. Pretty much. So governance-wise as well, let's not be, kidding ourselves here. I would look at it from the lens of taking it over after a couple of years, because people come and go, and in most cases the municipality would take it over and maintain it. So I would look at it from that lens, as some of the speakers spoke about. We'd keep it possibly things that we could remove or make sure it's safe, or how would we maintain it in the eventuality that staff would have to maintain it. I would look at it from that lens from the onset. But I do appreciate all the great ideas and foresight into the design, which seems reasonable. So far, governance-wise, as far as administration, so we would maintain our daily, weekly, monthly, and annual maintenance regime. So that would be consistent. Building, so if it was to come to council through the budgeting process, I would recommend. Also, we would have it come through as any other building permit request as far as checks and balances through the building code process. And as far as volunteer work on the structure, that would go through the building codes process as well, and so anybody working on it would be, certified to work on it. So I don't see any problem with that, as they are. So we would have a list of the checks and balances to go through for sure on the governance regime. Functionality, I do personally agree with the understanding that likely we will need some office space in that building over time when it gets more robust and busy. We would not be doing ourselves a very good service if we didn't think ahead in that regard. And so office space makes a lot of sense to me. Also the entrance, it is kind of cumbersome currently as it is, and we're not even that busy in there. So the entrance and a functional entrance and a usable hallway with functional use in the hallway for ticketing, coat check, all that makes a lot of sense to me because there isn't that currently. Separation from the leasing people in the building. I think Councillor already mentioned that as far as liability. So the little kids versus the big kids on a daily basis. And so the entrance makes sense in that regard as well. So functionally, I agree. We can put that in the report. And what was my third? Budget?
Staff.
Budget?
Staff work?
Staff, yeah. So staff work involved. To date hasn't been onerous. We're giving these fine, energetic folks our comments on an ongoing basis. Funding wise, like cost wise, I'm here anyway, and the building codes inspector and Chris Watkins are here, and it doesn't really affect the budget in that way because we just added to our workload. The workload aspect hasn't been significant to date, so as we get as we get into the project and start building a report and start looking at budgeting for potentially next year, that will take some time, as any other project takes time, and we fit it in and we'll make it happen. So I would wrap that up into a report and bring it to council.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Shukin.
Thank you. Just a really quick comment. I sense, based on discussions from the past, budget discussions, that we have, as a community, have made a commitment to owning the school on a longer-term basis. And as Mr. Reimer was saying earlier, we're paying. There is a cost to owning the school. My sense of finding a way toward budget neutrality, if you will, is we are going to have to invest to make the school a place where people want to come rent space. So in that light, again, I'm very supportive of the concept that's been put forward. And I think, again, it might seem counterintuitive, but to make money, we have to do some work. Sorry, it's not counterintuitive at all. To make money, we are going to have to invest in that space. So I think it's a great concept. And yeah, I look forward to Mr. Pine's report.
Great, okay. Councillor Dawes?
Thank you. I'm looking forward to his report as well. This has been, as Shannon has put in her report here, this has been ongoing for a number of years. There's been oodles of concept drawings. I recall us talking about this last fall, I believe it was, when we hired the Hildebrandts. And the amount of input that the community had, and they wanted to have more. And we heard that at the very beginning of tonight about engagement. And we heard even back then, it was Mrs. Reimer who had commented about the patchwork, the messy quilt patchwork, which really resonated with me. So we have all these drawings that we did back in 2017 or whatever. Well, it would be probably after that because we got the school done. And quite a few of those drawings still could apply today. I am, and I really like those because I did the presentation on it and I worked with the group on it at the time. Shannon and I have met to discuss this particular proposal. When this came to us not too long ago with the preschool coming in there, having an outside door, I was not in favor of it because you do have the hallway where children can actually go out to a safer exit into a field as opposed to a parking lot. A parking lot that is already busy with the arts that are going on, the pub that is going on, and now we're adding more congestion in this area. We did an accessibility tour, a group of us, where a ramp to one of the double doors there is not in this particular concept drawing, but as Anne said, those things can change. That accessibility needs to be addressed. The outside of the gymnasium was another area that people had talked about. So I think, as was mentioned, a master plan of the whole site, because we're doing it bit by bit. We've just put in $1 million, no, not $1 million, well, almost $1 million into the gymnasium, and it's not being rented out as much yet. I would hope that we would promote it more before we start putting more money into things and start getting money coming in as opposed to putting money out constantly. Yes, there's grants out there. They're not going to be there for very long or forever, as a matter of fact. They are taxpayers' dollars, so none of that is really free, but I sure would like to see us revenue generating first before we start putting more and more money into it, not to sour everybody's efforts here, but you know, putting the cart before the horse. I'm just really cautious and in times of economic constraint and stuff, so I would rather slow it down a bit and sure see what Mr. Hayek comes back with, but there's a lot of community people that would like to have their say on this whole site. So I think that it bodes well for us to actually broaden that scope, cast the net wider.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion on this? Councillor Gray.
Sure, thank you, Councillor. I appreciate the sending this to staff for review, and I would like to ask when that happens if we might poke at the numbers a little bit and make sure that the staff are comfortable with the numbers we see here. That's not a criticism of what's laid out, just rather that nature of having a second look at things. I'm wondering too if we might hear back. It seems to me, so I'm delighted with the idea and the concept and everything. We're going to lose a commercial space when this happens. So one of that classroom that gets cut in half, we're going to lose the ability to rent that. So that needs to be figured into the numbers somehow. And then I'm back to an old saw here is, which when we hear back, could we also hear back whether or not we are actively have a leasing agent to rent the old Instinct space? Because it all kind of fits together here. That's we're earning something like $75,000 a year from there. If it doesn't get rented, then we're in more trouble. So I see this as working well, but we need to, I suppose what Councillor Donaldson is saying, look to the revenue side as well. And then it would also be helpful when we get a report back about the booking of the gym, just what is going on. We know about the pickleball, which is a major renter, and but what else is being rented? I'm not as convinced that it's going to sort of take off. I think we have what we have and we've got there, and I like it, and I like it being available. I just don't think it's going to be a money maker for us, or even probably breaking even. So what do we expect to be investing there in an ongoing way? So I'm interested in all of those kinds of aspects with the staff. But in sum, I sure like the idea. So take it from concept now to a little bit more concrete with Mr. Pyatt's look at it would be helpful. Thank you.
Thanks. Marilyn?
Yeah, I like the idea, actually. I hadn't spent a lot of time there, but it really is a bit of a dog's breakfast. It really does need cleaning up and maintaining. I would like to see more information on the numbers, whether that's realistic or not. But I like the plan. I think it's a good idea. And truly, when you drive up to the school, you really don't know which door to go in. It's like, choose a door. And so with some kind of gable roof with signage, move the sign of whatever the schools can be called to that area. I think that would be very helpful for people coming to the school, so they know where to go. I think the kids will know where they're going, but and I do like the idea of Councillor Donaldson that they can be shepherded out into the field. And at some point, the preschool will probably ask for their equipment that's at the preschool to be moved into the field. The structures that many parents fundraise for. So I like the idea. Thank you.
Councillor Gray?
I would just add one thing, and that is that as far as I'm aware, the gym space, which is great, we don't yet have carts for the chairs or the table, so it's difficult for people to actually rent it for a function without further investment, I'm afraid. So some notion of that would be helpful too if we're talking about this being the entrance to the big gym.
I think we actually do have carts for them.
Good news. Great,
Yes,
just so that it's usable in that way. I hadn't known it arrived. I thought we had to make a new investment for that, but terrific, thanks.
Well, I also really like the idea, and I think it's far past time to move forward with doing this, and also the fact that this society has been formed and is willing, appears quite confident in being able to put in the amount of volunteer hours and dollars that would be a huge benefit, and possibly, I mean, if we keep delaying this down the road, then the municipality will be responsible probably for paying the homework. So I think this is a huge benefit to the community and the district to be able to have this kind of volunteer commitment to do this, and we'll save thousands of dollars, as well as give us an entry. And I think you're right. I mean, it's like the doors of the gym. Every time there's something there's people wandering around looking for the right door, and it's very confusing, and it's certainly not attractive. So I think yes, we do need an overall plan, but I think this one seems like a really solid idea, something we need there, and I know we can sort of tweak it as we go, and see what works in there and what doesn't work, and so on. I think I really look forward to having the information from staff. Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping that one of the big things comes back from staff is we really focus on a master plan. If you look at this particular map on page 43, this is the original drawing, and what you see to the right, which is NACA, what's in red was the original Arts and Culture Center. And so over the years, as each person has had an idea, that has changed. And so if we go right over to where that first classroom is, we've lost a lot of commercial space. Because we did have, I can't see it because I don't have glasses on tonight, but Small Farm magazine was in there, but we've gone right to where the first set of fire doors are. And now we're talking about giving up more space in that second classroom. So our revenue generating of this site is diminishing, and it is costing the taxpayers more and more every year. This year in the budget is $200,000 and it's sitting empty. So this is the concern I'm hearing from the residents. So I sure am looking forward to a master plan, one that will have things like wayfinding signs so people know where they go, where they know where to park, where the signs coming in and out, not driving on grass. That is a fulsome plan, and that is what is missing. And you're right, the time is now for a plan.
I do, I don't agree about the arts section. I think that's an extremely important part of this community is to have a viable arts and culture area, and I don't ever expect that that school is going to make money. No recreation center anywhere makes money because it's a community service. I know you think otherwise, but it's just that's how I see it. And I think it has to be to be good for all interests in the community, whether it's painting or dancing or sports or kids, whatever. And I think I do think that room, the Parsh, even though the hallway will take part of it, there's no reason why the space that's left there can't be rented out. So, Mr. Payne.
Yeah, thanks, through the chair. The master planning process, for one thing, we don't have a budget to do that this year. The second thing is, in the master planning process, generally we have engagement with the users of the facility. We have space analysis. Takes quite a bit of time. And then there's some kind of public engagement. For me to bring forward a master plan without doing that process, 10 people will look at it and there'll be 10 different comments about it. So it makes no sense to me to do it personally. I mean, I can do it, but it's not really the proper way to do a master planning exercise. So.
Okay, Councillor Donaldson, you had
The one thing that has worked very well the last 2 years is the working group concept. 6 months, they're in, they're out. They really focus on, as Councillor Shukin and Mayor Little will attest to, the 2 of the 3 that have worked incredibly well with great results. They're in, they're out, they do the research as long as they know what their mandate is. And that's by volunteers. Those are appointed citizens. And we have a lot of passion in this community. Unfortunately, you weren't here in November, December when we got a lot of pushback on the school and how much input people wanted and all their ideas and stuff. But that is one of the assets we do have, is citizens that we could appoint to a working group that would, again, help our staff. It's not done all on staff time. There's some administrative stuff, of course, with minutes or whatever, but that's an idea as well. So not to put it on your shoulders. That's not what my intent was.
Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I don't think it was a motion, Councillor, you made a few moments ago, but I want to second it. The thanks for the offer made by volunteers in our community to work so hard on this, the effort they would put in, the time and energy. So thanks for raising that and making sure it's recognized.
Okay, so anyway, we need to move on. So the motion was the committee refer the proposal on the Metchosin School Property to staff for review and recommendations. So call the question. All in favor? That is carried. And the only other correspondence we have is the annual report by CREST. It's amazing. Their total transmissions of this year, or in 2023, I should say, were more than 10 million, and they service 50 different groups for communication, including our own fire department. With that, call a motion to
a quick question. We fund CREST, a portion of it, and so will we end up funding the building as well, or is that part of our?
No, they've got a loan for it.
Thank
through
you.
the municipal finance
Authority, yeah.
and they're selling their current building as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Okay, thanks everybody.